I should make sure we're muted. Probably a good idea. It's up on X. Let's check and see if we're live on Rumble and YouTube. There we are. So, how's everybody's Friday going? Happy Friday. Live on a Friday. How interesting. So yeah, happy Friday, November 21st, 2025. This is episode number 13 of Addressing the Issues. It's going to be a little different today. Obviously, we're going to be discussing the Trump and Mamdani meeting, and then I guess we'll get a little bit theoretical with future of politics at the end. I want to take a moment, remind everybody to like, follow, subscribe, comment, chat if you want. I'm more than willing to discuss any of the theories I have today. And I'd love other people's opinions on them as well. I guess a programming reminder, we will be live next week, Monday through Wednesday. I'm planning on taking Thursday and Friday off, spending time with friends and family. But yeah, that's at least the plan going forward. We'll be back on normal schedule starting next Monday. Not this Monday, but next Monday. But yeah, the Trump and Mamdani meeting was today. Unfortunately, the meeting wasn't live. It was behind closed doors, and I think that was probably smarter than hosting it like he did the Zelensky meeting, but I was hopeful that it would be hosted that way. So Trump opened. He said the one thing in common they have is they want the city they love to do very well, which I can respect. He said they talked about housing, pricing, and food, and that they would be working together to make a strong and safe New York. Then Mamdani had his opening statement, and he said they need to deliver affordability in New York and that they focused on rent, groceries, utilities, and other ways people have been pushed out of the city. And then they opened it up to press or questions from the press, which is, I guess, the only thing they got to do was ask questions about how the meeting went. Trump said that Mamdani's got views that are a little out there, but Mamdani will change likely like himself regarding Trump and how he's changed over time since 2016. And I guess before that, he used to be a Democrat. And he said that he thinks that Mamdani is going to surprise conservative people. So I hope so. I hope I'm pleasantly surprised. I didn't have much faith. I guess you could see that going back to the election day video. But a major talk that they had was lifting New Yorkers out of poverty. I think that's something we could all agree on, something they agreed on. And then they wanted to, and they all both talked about how they wanted peace in the Middle East. I thought that was interesting that was a topic, but that is something that seems to be on the mind of New Yorkers, on the mind of a lot of people across America. How to negotiate 101, focus on agreement. That is true. I think it's a lot more productive that they agreed on things as opposed to what I thought was Trump was going to rat him out the entire time and they would have more disagreements than they did agreements. But it seems like they focused on the major issues like money, cost of living, stuff like that. But they claimed the meeting, like I said, focused on things they have in common and not differences. I thought that they would focus more on differences, but I was wrong. I'll admit to that. And they said that they want to work out their differences on opinions of ICE, but both want a safe New York. I think that's rather agreeable. I think there probably is room for them to still there probably still is room for ICE to go into New York City, but Mamdani wants to have a little bit of say on how that goes, and I can respect that as a mayor. I mean, he wants to support his constituents, and I think that's a non-disagreeable thing. And they spoke on the rates of Con Edison, which is an energy company that supplies New Yorkers. And they said they both agreed that fuel has gone down and energy prices has gone up, and nobody can explain why that's happened in New York, other than possibly Con Edison, which they said that they would talk to them, and that would be an interesting moment, the time that Trump partners up with Zoran Mamdani to go after Con Edison for jacking up energy rates. I think that would be a rather hilarious meeting. The best part was when, if Mamdani still thought that President Trump was a fascist, he started talking around in a circle, and Trump said, "It's okay for you to say it," instead of explaining it. And then Mamdani quietly responded with a little yep and a head nod, and I thought that was absolutely hilarious. They discussed crime. They said in their meeting, they agreed that they both didn't want to see crime in New York City. They agreed that they both wanted to see houses go up in New York City and for rent to come down. Seems agreeable. When Mamdani was asked on his previous claims of race-based taxation, he double-backed a little bit and said that it was based on neighborhoods and not the color of their skin, which we'll see if that takes effect. I think probably Trump gave him a little bit of talking to on that. Trump said that he plans to help Zoran Mamdani and not hurt him, so I think that's positive. I mean, it could have gone either way, but it's good to see that they want to work together to make New York City better. It was Trump's home for a long time, so I can imagine that he does want New York City to prosper and not collapse. They spoke on tax dollars going to New Yorkers and not genocide and endless wars. Pretty agreeable. And Trump said that he thinks Mamdani has a chance to make New York City great, and that he thinks he's different than a typical politician. They commented on FDR's New Deal and how similar policies between local and national government could help New York City. Mamdani said he was committed to maintaining the same amount of police, but adding mental health services for the thousands of mental health calls they receive a year. So he kind of doubled back in saying that he wanted to defund the police, but they're actually going to keep numbers the same as before and add on mental health services. So maybe New York City will be safe. We'll see. I wanted them to be able to focus more on crime instead of mental health calls, so maybe that'll help them clean up crime in New York City. But they both agreed that they want to make New York City greater than ever before. Overall, it sounded like it was a rather productive meeting. Sparks didn't fly like I assumed they would. I was wrong. I'll admit that. But yeah, we'll see how it goes and see if they continue to work together to achieve these common goals. Obviously, they are very different politically, but the goals they have are common, so they'll probably work together and stand on that common ground and hopefully get New York City back to where it used to be. So I told you guys I'd talk a little bit about political theory, some bellwethers. How long do I think this relationship will last? You know, I could see it lasting the entire time that Trump and Mamdani are in office together. I could also see it falling apart, given some of the, I guess, ideas, policies that Mamdani ran on. But if what they said today was true, they're going to work together on common ground. And if they, I guess, start backing off of that common ground together, I think that's when it'll fall apart. But I think it really could last all 3 years that they'll both be in office together. And I think that'd be good. I mean, you don't want to see civil war in America. You don't want to see people starving. You don't want to see these things. And I think they'll probably work together the entire time. Now, there might be points of contention. I think there will be a lot of points of contention, but I think they'll be a phone call away. They'll call each other, and Trump will do what he always does and work the art of the deal over the phone. But yeah, I said I'd talk a little bit about Bellwether Elections heading into the 2026 primaries. I only really had time to go in depth on two. There's a few more that I'd look at beyond these, but we'll start off with Jerry Nadler's seat in New York 12. This is the wealthiest district in New York as of 2024 and the third wealthiest nationwide. So the people that are running in this primary, this is a Democrat primary. So we're starting with the Democrats. Are Micah Lashner. He's a former aide to Kathy Hochul, widely thought by Democrats to be Nadler's successor. He's running on a platform of raising minimum wage, expanding child care, and implementing Medicare for all. He's currently the odds-on favorite, right around 50%. A second person that's running in this is Jack Schlossberg. He's the grandson of JFK. He's already invoked his family ties in the bid for the seat, acknowledged his hate for Trump, so I guess that gets him off to a hot start. He opened his campaign with 12 promises for New York's District 12. I looked at this list. It seems to be more platitudes than policy. I haven't seen any policy from Schlossberg, unfortunately. He seems to be running off of vibes instead of the economy, which could be an issue for him. And it may not be in New York. You never know. A point of note for him is he recorded himself performing the Nazi salute to an American flag on Instagram. For a lot of people, this would be a disqualifying issue, but given Democrats' recent track record, it probably isn't. They'll probably support him even more for it. But he seems to be mostly a social media influencer with a minimal resume. His key highlight is being a political correspondent for Vogue during the 2024 presidential election. Beyond that, he's pretty inactive in the political field. Another person that's running is Alex Boros. He's a New York State Assemblyman. He's running on the idea to recode Washington. He's focused mostly on tech and things of that nature. He has been in the fight against artificial intelligence during his tenure in the New York State Assembly, passing legislation at the state level to make AI safer for his constituents. Boris has vowed to fight for the little guy in Congress. I'm not referring to Jerry Nadler, but I'm not sure that this is a winning issue, especially in the third wealthiest district in the U.S., the wealthiest in New York. I don't think they're that concerned about the little guy, but only time will tell on that. And then coming around to the last person, I think this is the one that you got to keep your eyes on. His name is Cameron Kasky. He's a 25-year-old self-proclaimed democratic socialist like Mamdani. And he's running for Congress because it feels our party has no future, referring to Democrats. The campaign has a very similar feel and branding to the future New York City mayor. I think he's playing really hard off of Mamdani's successes. And furthermore, Kasky is a Parkland school shooting survivor. He's a strong advocate for gun control. He led the March for Our Lives movement and blames the American system for what had happened to him. His key promises are ending the funding of genocide and abolishing U.S. immigrations and customs enforcement, providing Medicare for all. Those would be his main policies. If he's the one that wins, he's currently sitting at 13% on Kalshi and rising daily. He's the person Republicans will need to look out for. This will show that the Democrat Socialist Party is gaining strength and influence. So we'll have to look out for that, because that is probably the future of the Democrat Party, is Democrat socialism. And Republicans are going to have answers for this because their key issues are affordability. But if Kasky were to win this, it means the Democrat Party is moving on from its old form. It's moving into a Democrat socialist form, and it's going to put a lot of pressure on Republicans to make changes in the way they look at things right now. So key races, or key primary races to look at for Republicans in 2026. The main one I can name is the Florida gubernatorial election. Current Governor Ron DeSantis is out of terms. He still boasts a positive approval rating among Florida voters, but he hasn't had time to implement all of his goals. There's a few people running. Do you think someone that young will survive in Washington? Look at Madison Cawthorn. He was eaten alive. I actually think he can. The thing is, with the Democrat Socialists, they stick together so much better than anybody else does. They are all for one for all every single time. That's why I'd be worried about him. He's going to have that backing from Mamdani. And it's a younger audience for these people. It's people my age, little older, younger. And these are the ones that are going to be sticking by this person, and they do want change. They see a system that hasn't worked for them, a system that doesn't provide them jobs after college. And they don't want to be in debt. They're tired of student debt. And they want houses. They want to be able to live somewhere, not worry about where they live. So I think that he's going to have a lot of support, and I think people are just going to, he's going to feel that backing no matter how much pushback he gets in Washington. We'll get back to the Florida gubernatorial election on the Republican side. Byron Donalds is by far the current favorite. He's been endorsed by President Trump, Elon Musk, and many other prominent commentators and politicians. The main issue with Byron Donalds is his key issues flip-flop like every few days, it seems now. A main example, he was pro H-1B visas a month ago. Today he's walking that back because he's realized it's going to tank his youth vote. He's received pushback at plenty of events over it. And he was for taxing homestead properties a month ago and has walked that back now as well because people are worried about housing. They're concerned if they're going to be able to keep their house, pay property taxes. These are actual concerns of Americans, and he's really not taking them into account. He's pro-investing in AI and making Florida the financial capital of the world. Whether Floridians want that or not is a different question. That's kind of what the worry is with Byron. I guess the main issue with Byron is it seems he doesn't stand for anything. It seems he's easily swayed with money, and he really only walks back his swaying when he gets public backlash from the populace. It seems that he doesn't really know what conservatives want. He knows what his donors want. They want to bring in H-1B workers and make data centers. The average Floridian doesn't want that. We know our waterways are too polluted as is. The red algae is ruining tourism. And Floridians are more concerned about maintaining Florida as opposed to making Florida something unrecognizable to what they grew up in. But I just don't know if he's unknowledgeable about his base, or if it's that he's just too worried about funding his bid for governor. And it could be either. It seems that he's just been disconnected since he's gone to D.C. He used to be a great state politician from what I've read. That's the reason he's gone up to D.C., but since he went up to D.C., it seems that he's lost his way and is bending the knee to big tech and all these companies and corporations that are going to continue to fund his campaign. So the only other person that has formally announced that they will be running for governor against him is Paul Renner. He's currently at about 2%. But he is a veteran and current Florida Speaker of the House. His main issues include faith, family, free markets, and health freedom. He promotes safety and transparency of medical research, preventative health care access, knowledge about vaccines, pretty familiar with the Florida MAHA movement. He also advocates about property tax cuts, lowering insurance costs. He's also an advocate for Florida's environment, protecting state parks from development and protecting Florida's wildlife corridor, which allows panthers and other species that are only local to Florida access to green space, as opposed to having to travel through metropolitan areas and highways to migrate yearly. So that's something Floridians actually appreciate, believe it or not, is their local panther. Go Panthers, I guess. But he has a zero tolerance policy on illegal immigration. He's a parents' rights advocate in both schools and medicine. He wants parents to be able to decide where they send their kids to school through universal school choice. And he also wants them to have a say at the doctor's office on what happens to their kids, what medicines they take, what they're poked with at a young age. He's a law and order advocate. He supports the banning of foreign adversaries from owning Florida land, such as the CCP. And he plans on protecting Florida's environment through waterway and Everglade conservation and banning offshore drilling. He's pro-life and anti-marijuana. I don't know how well the anti-marijuana thing is going to go in Florida with the current medical marijuana practice in the state. However, Florida voters did vote to block Amendment 3 in 2024, which would have allowed for recreational marijuana. So I think he sits a little bit on the authoritarian conservative side of Floridians, but a lot of Floridians do not approve of the public smoking of marijuana, public use of it. Stinks up the area. People notice when they're on tour or on tourism. When they're on vacation, you can smell it. You know it. You know when you're near it. And some people just don't like that, and it can drive down tourism. So there's two other candidates that are teasing a run, and are also kind of the reason Byron's had to flip-flop his position on some of these issues that are less favorable to voters. So Jay Collins, he has alluded that he may be making a run in the next few days. He's a former Army medic and current Lieutenant Governor of Florida. He's the co-chair of Florida's MAHA Commission. He believes in property tax relief. He wants to build on DeSantis' legacy of that. That's something that hasn't been completely fulfilled. That's one of those things that maybe if Governor DeSantis had a little bit more time, he could have capitalized on, but maybe not. I mean, we'll see if that's even plausible. That's what Floridians want. He advocates for seniors in Florida through he did this through the implementation of Operation Senior Shield. That's like a program for seniors in Florida to learn how to combat fraud, people calling them, asking for money. They learn the tricks of those people and can use them back against them. He calls for the eliminating of government bloat, waste, fraud, and abuse. He's a huge Second Amendment and education advocate. And his platform is centered on making Florida even freer, safer, and more prosperous, while resisting federal overreach and special interest groups. Now, another person I think I like the most as of right now, whoever DeSantis backs will get the nomination. I think there's a high chance that they will. I don't know if it's 100% actually. I think if DeSantis backs, Byron, I don't know. He might still lose the primary. He has proven he has no backbone, the Floridians, and that's something that the average person around here can't stand. But James Fishback, he has not announced yet that he is going to be running, but he's planning his official announcement Monday next week. So I think he will. He is the CEO of Azoria, a pro-worker investment firm, and founder of Incubate Debate, that is America's only no-cost debate league. He's focused on stopping all immigration, including H-1B, and instead supports getting Americans in the jobs, particularly college graduates. That's one of his main focuses. It's the unemployment of college graduates. He routinely talks about furthering the legacy of Governor DeSantis as opposed to walking it back, continuing to reduce taxes, continuing to have freedoms such as our Second Amendment tax holiday, runs to the end of the year. Go buy what you need. But he also advocates for the preservation of Florida both historically and environmentally. He wants to keep our green spaces green and our parks the way they were. And he will not allow future data centers to further pollute Florida's fragile ecosystem and in turn run up costs for the Florida citizen. He's against private equity investment buying homes in Florida. He's an advocate for home ownership and family growth. He has a goal of providing future generations a chance in Florida like he had. He wants to bring back small town Florida. That's one of his main things, coming from, I believe, Madison, Florida, and the Big Bend. He wants to bring back small town Florida and protect it against urban sprawl from larger cities. Protecting the green space goes in with that as well. Keeping our Everglades wild, keeping our beautiful streams and springs clean. But he's big on law and order and promoting debate over violence is one of his main things. But this will be the bellwether, I believe, for the future of conservatism in America. If Jay Collins, James Fishback, or even Paul Renner to an extent were the win, it sets the stage for a new era of conservatism. It's focused on their constituents, Americans, as opposed to big business and people coming in to take jobs of Americans. On the alternative, I think if Byron Donalds wins, I mean, it really could set the Republican Party back. It proves that we're not ready to instill these freedoms that Governor DeSantis has fought so hard for year after year. And I think it could mean that we'll see the Democrat Socialists steamroll conservatives in elections because the main issue right now is affordability. But I guess what I mean by this is, like, Byron seems to represent this disconnected Washington establishment. He's like almost lost his way. It seems that his goal is to take all the money he can and say what he's paid to say instead of what Floridians actually want. Speaking of the reason why there were more new jobs and yet unemployment went up is because more people entered the job market. Well, I don't think those were recent college graduates in the month of September, but we'll see who they were, maybe. But Jay Collins, and in particular James Fishback, seek to continue pushing Florida along and even further Governor DeSantis' agenda, delivering on the cost of living crisis here in Florida, taxes going up, insurance going up, everything seems to be going up. And then Ron DeSantis came in and started pushing back, trying to get the costs down. Get the energy costs down, things that matter to voters. But Republicans really need to elect someone with fresh ideas and a backbone, unless we do want to be steamrolled in 2026, 2028, in the presidential election and beyond by the Democrat Socialists. But I think this election in Florida is going to be the proving ground that it's okay to run on policies that benefit Americans first. As opposed to the policies that benefit the corporate donors that Republicans have so long been a advocate for. They're going to have to look back and see if they want the They want to see it. They want to see if the youth want to vote for him again, like Donald Trump did. But this is going to be an election to watch to see if America, and in particular Republicans, are ready to look to the future, hand the reins over to the future of America, the youth, or if we're just going to ride the older conservative ideas and conservative senators, congressmen, government in general until the wheels fall off. And the wheels will likely fall off of America too at that point. We will be a Democrat socialist nation. But there's a few other races that are likely going to be bellwethers for Republicans' futures, whether the party's going to even exist into the future. Some of these that I identified would be Mitch McConnell's vacated seat in Kentucky, a historically Republican state, but we'll see how Republicans there see their future. Likely a Republican will win the general election, but it'll be different levels of conservatism from them. Another one to look for is Lindsey Graham's primary challenge in South Carolina. He has a very low freedom score, and it'll be interesting to see if another historically conservative Republican state will continue the role with Lindsey Graham, or if they think it's time for the future. Another one in Kentucky, Thomas Massey's primary challenge. We'll see if he can win. Obviously, it's been said that President Trump will support any other candidate other than him in the primary, but I think that he really is somebody who stands up for his constituents, and that's something that they should be proud of. He should be proud of, and that's really what it's all about. It's not about the corporate dollars. It's about the votes, you representing your constituents. And I guess the last one I would look at is Marjorie Taylor Greene in a possible primary challenge in Georgia. I think that could be a interesting thing to keep looking at. She currently doesn't have any challengers, but like Thomas Massey, it's been said that President Trump will support anybody who decides the challenger in the primary. But yeah, just looking at these elections, particularly Florida, will be a bellwether to see what the Republican Party will turn to going into the future. Will Republicans look to the youth vote in their future? Or do they want to reject the youth voters, the same voters that got President Trump across the finish line in 2024? Do Republicans want to try and fight back on this affordability crisis? Or do they want to drive new voting blocks firmly into the arms of the Democrat Socialist Party? This is literally where we are right now. Do we want to move the Republican Party forward, or do we want to stall out and let the Democratic Socialists win? Do we want to let them take over from 2026 onward, or do we want to move in the right direction, in my opinion, the direction of the future? But I hope Republicans will choose to take this path of improving the future for the younger generations. But that obviously will be decided at the primary ballot box. No matter how much money you spend, you're still going to have to win the election, win the most votes. But the younger generation, they want results for them. We want results for us. We don't want results for billion-dollar companies and private equity firms. We want to have a house, raise a family, have kids. And these are things that the conservative youth are looking to. We want to find a candidate that supports us and our goals, not goals of billion-dollar companies and private equity firms that buy up all the housing. But yeah, that's just where we are right now. Keep an eye out on all these elections. These are going to be, I believe, a telltale towards what the future is going to look like, whether that be in New York, if they continue to push the Democrat Socialists across the line, like I believe they could, or if Republicans themselves want to try and move forward and address this affordability crisis that is kind of brought on by some of these large donors that buy up all the houses. But that's all we have for today. I'd say keep your eyes on all these races for sure going into the next year. If you see anybody you like, you might want to chip in that $5 to them. Maybe that'll help get them across the finish line. But I guess until then, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, share. If you think somebody else would like to hear this theory, you think it's relevant, I'd love for you to share it with them. Maybe they'll come back in and chat with me. Tell me, oh, you're wrong. Oh, you're right. I believe you. I'd love to have some conversations with more people. But yeah, just like, comment, subscribe, share, follow. If you want to donate, there is a little $ on the Rumble stream in the bottom left. You can make a one-time donation, a monthly donation, whatever you like. It helps keep me going, helps keep the lights on, helps keep the stream online. But yeah, if you want to help me out, that'd be more than appreciated. And if somebody does want to sponsor me, that is always an option. You can reach out to me through email or on X at Samuel_S_Jones. Shoot me a DM if you want to negotiate. And if you saw any parts today that were, I guess, relevant and you're on YouTube, you could obviously clip those and share those in like a smaller format. If you tag me on X, I'll be sure to retweet them. I'd really appreciate that because I can't really get it all done myself. I'd love to have more and more clips, but you know, I can't do it while I'm streaming. Yeah, that's all we have for today. So I guess I'll sign off. Or before I sign off, let me remind everybody, we're going to be live at 4:45 Eastern time still, Monday through Wednesday next week. I'm going to take off Thursday and Friday, and then we'll be back the next Monday at 4:45 live, back to regularly scheduled programming. So, to my people on the East Coast, I hope you get home safe. To my people further west, I hope you finish up the workday strong and get home safe as well. Like I said, I'll talk to you guys on Monday. Sorry about the hectic live stream this Friday. I wish I had a searching for solutions for you guys, but I couldn't find anybody to get on. And it's kind of difficult around the holiday season to get people to force a little bit extra time open. But yeah, thank you guys. See you again soon.